Bend the knee!
Valor Mongolas, everybody. This is Don Willie back again for another edition of Epic Battles of Ice and Fire. And today I am back here in Essos to bring you another spirited contest which might actually take place in the Winds of Winter, since both of these combatants are currently on their way to meet Daenerys Targaryen. So, in this corner here, we have an Archmaester of the Citadel, someone who has actually taught a few people in our story, firstly being Mary Masdor, as well as Arelis the Sphinx, and we last saw him in Sam's last chapter of A Feast for Crows. And just because he happens to be a maester does not mean that he is by any means a pacifist. So, without further ado, we have Marwyn the Mage versus, in this corner here, a Red Priest from Volantis. We see him in some Tyrion chapters, as well as some chapters with Victarion. We know that he happens to be pretty powerful with the fire magic. He's looked into the flames, and his predictions are actually more accurate than Melisandre, and he is the guy who gave Victarion his flaming or smoking hand. Man, I don't know how Marvin might survive this one, but it is Moqorro. So, I got my man Maester Payne to help me out with this one, and we're going to hash it out and see who would survive in the battle of these two magical, spiritual, and scientific titans. So, Maester Payne, take it away.
So we have Archmaester Marwyn, also known as Marwyn the Mage or Marwyn the Mastiff. He is a short man, which might be a weakness. He has a Valyrian steel rod and mask and a ring. Valyrian steel rod could be an advantage. He's smart and a traveled man. He's been to Ashai, probably beyond. He is strong and stocky. He has been rumored to have killed somebody with his bare fist, and he probably has a knowledge of fire and blood magic. We don't know how old he is, but he has survived many years at the Citadel when the Citadel hates anything to do with magic, so he is a survivor. He is also known to hang out with hedge wizards and horrors, speak to Summer Islanders in their own tongues. He's believed to have sacrificed to queer gods. He hangs around with people from all walks of society, so he's probably picked up a trick or two along the way. And, of course, he does have a glass candle burning at Citadel, which probably is an advantage somehow.
Moqorro is a Red Priest from Volantis who happens to stand at about 6 feet tall. He has a staff, which also is about as tall as he is, which happens to shoot green flame whenever it is stomped against the floor or the ground, which not exactly sure yet, but who knows, we may find out later that it actually spits fire if he wants it to. He seems to be kind of a stocky man. I mean, even though we're not exactly sure how strong he is, I would imagine that somebody who's 6 feet tall would have some particular strengths with him, especially if he's, traveled from Volantis. He was able to survive the shipwreck with Tyrion and Jorah, and come on, look, he has the entire crew of Victarion ship scared of him, so I would imagine that does count for something. Now, as far as his weaknesses are concerned, one weakness that I think would be the fact that him being on a mission, he wouldn't be as creative and thinking out the box when it comes to certain situations. Now, that may not apply to combat, but just the fact that you have a more rigid and narrow-minded way of thinking would definitely be a hindrance in a fight, especially versus someone like Marwyn, who's used to thinking outside the box on a continual basis. So, Maester Payne, why do you think it is that Marwyn might be able to bring down Moqorro?
Well, I know height can be seen as a disadvantage, but I think in Marwyn's case, it is actually an advantage rather than a disadvantage for the sole fact that Moqorro is so tall. He is described as being like a mastiff. That's not a dog you want to get into a fight with. And he's also, of course, been rumored to have killed somebody with his bare hands, whereas Moqorro seems to get everybody else to do his killing for him. I think that's a very good point in favor of Marwyn.
Well, yeah, listen, I do understand that. I mean, but look, let's be honest here. We do not know what Moqorro might have had to do before he became a priest at the Red Temple, or what he might have had to do on the way for his journeys. I mean, look, yes, we know that Red Priests and priestesses, for the most part, get other people to do that kind of dirty work for them. But I would imagine that growing up, or just even being around the environment like Volantis, which is said to be a pretty violent place, at some point, he's not going to be able to get acolytes to do everything for him, and he's going to have to do his own dirty work and put his hands on some people. And, while I don't know if Marwyn happens to have any compunction about killing people, we have already seen that Red Priest and priestesses pretty much have no qualms about seeing people dead, especially if those people are not of the same faith and do not believe in reborn.
How do you think that Moqorro's staff would match up against Marwyn's Valyrian steel rod?
I mean, well, you know what? When I did the research for this battle, I found that rods happen to be, usually between 3 and 5 feet. And with someone like Marwyn not being a very tall man himself, I would imagine that even though he has a Valyrian steel rod, that the rod may not be a very long one, especially because he is not that tall himself. Now, when you talk about Moqorro's staff, again, you're talking about a staff that's about 6 feet long and also apparently shoots out some flame. Maybe not, so much in the weaponized sense of breathing fire, but I think it is highly possible that we could find out that Moqorro can call upon flame to shoot from the staff. And remember, the staff's head is in the shape of a dragon's head. So I don't think that something like that is by accident.
I agree with you. It's probably not by accident. It is one of the reasons why I think these two will actually meet each other at some point within this story. But who has the better magic ability in your mind?
I personally think that Moqorro has the better magic ability. Look what he was able to do for Victarion, and also, it seems that even with his looking into the flames, that he has been so far more accurate than Melisandre, at least. I don't know if Thoros of Myr has actually seen anything in the flames or not, but we definitely know that Moqorro has seen things in the flames, such as the shipwreck that he was on with Tyrion and Jorah, and he knew that they weren't going to make it to Karth, but somehow he was still able to survive and be picked up by Victarion. So I think that he probably has the better, or if not better than, the more useful magical abilities.
Very good point. And honestly, all we do know about Marwyn the Mage, we don't know that he is actually magical. Could just be a rumor.
Yeah, this is true. I mean, look, I do think that if these two happen to fight in a one-on-one battle, that it would not be easy for either of them. I think that, they would both come away scarred no matter who won. But if I had to give a definitive answer on who I would think would ultimately triumph if this was a battle to the death, I would have to say that I think that Moqorro would probably take it, because I do think he has maybe one or two slight, very slight advantages over Marwyn.
The height advantage is a big thing. I will throw in something that I forgot earlier, that Marwyn's nose has been broken on multiple occasions, so it does sound like he is used to getting into physical confrontations from time to time. But it's probably by a guy that was 6 feet tall that broke his nose, so I concede, sir.
Alrighty then. Well, it appears that in this battle, where we have two men who, dabble in magic and also happen to dabble in the realms of science as well, that when it comes to Moqorro versus Marwyn, it looks like the Red Priest is going to win this one.
It will definitely be a well-fought battle. I do hope that these two meet. I am not certain that they will be enemies or not, but I do think they are on a collision course, and it will be great to see interaction between the two of them. Thanks for having me, Don Willie. I appreciate you asking me. Let's do something again sometime.
Thank you very much for accepting this invite, sir.
So this one was another close call, and even though I wound up giving it to Moqorro, let's not think that Marwyn is a punk by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, this guy has been in plenty of fights. He's rumored to have killed someone with his bare hands. And also, I mean, come on, he has possibly traveled to the Shadowlands of Ashai and beyond and made it back. So you got to give him credit. So thank you again to my man Maester Payne for helping me out with this one. I will be back again next week with another one, of course. And as always, rate, comment, subscribe, share, tell your friends, come back for more. That's been my time, and this is Don Willie saying, Valor the Iris.